Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Celebrity Natal Charts. Today, we are going to be looking at the natal chart of our former president. I'm from the United States, so he's my former president, Joe Biden, who was famously born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, United States, November 20th, 1942, at 8:30 a.m. Birth time accuracy excellent. Scranton, Pennsylvania, made famous by The Office, a really good television show. We are going to look up together his Chinese zodiac sign, and then I'm going to read his bio, and then I'm going to read his chart. But while I'm looking up his Chinese zodiac sign, I was like really prepared to do Whoopi Goldberg's chart because she has like a crazy name. Like her real name is like Karen something something. And I don't know, it's just like an oversight, I guess, because I already did SZA, who is the Scorpio rising Aquarius, and then Whoopi Goldberg is also a Scorpio rising Aquarius, so don't have to do her chart and don't want it to end up like the Capricorn series where there's like two rising Leo charts, but maybe somewhere in my mind I was like, we'll do two because I wanted to talk about her. I just think like she's kind of silly that she's like well respected person nowadays, and her name is like her name is basically like Jewish whoopee cushion. So I don't know how we really feel about that, but I guess like also she doesn't have eyebrows. That attests to what I was saying about SZA and her sometimes dressing like an alien. Um, there's nothing really else that I knowingly think that is too Aquarian about Whoopi Goldberg, but I guess we're not doing her chart, so we're gonna do Joe Biden's. And Mr. Joe Biden's. Speaking about me saying things incorrectly. So the Gordon Ramsay video I thought was so good because he has a Virgo moon, and I'm recording it at the time where the moon is currently like very famously in Virgo during an eclipse and a blood moon. But I also said that he was born in the United States. I was like, he's from Scotland, United States. But like, with our current president and how crazy he is, who's to say? You know what I mean? So Mr. Joe Buttons is born in the year of the horse, which I believe Gordon Ramsay was too, 1966. He's 1942. They're both horses. And they're sort of opposites because he was the rising Gemini, and then Joe Biden is the rising Sagittarius. And I spoke about in the Jordan Ramsay video, the Gordon Ramsay video, that I associate the sign of the horse with uh, Gemini. But also Sagittarius has a lot of connections with horses too because they are like equestrians, like the sign of an equestrian. You know what I mean? Very, very that. And then Gemini's in his seventh house, so I don't know. But I just thought all those things were very interesting. That I would say that Gordon Ramsay's from the United States. Sort of have a problem with Whoopi Goldberg, but we won't be able to talk about it. And him and Gordon Ramsay have the same Chinese sign, so that's kind of cool. A Chinese or lunar sign. But Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., born November 20th, 1942, is an American politician who is the 46th and current president of the United States, a member of the Democratic Party. Biden previously served as the 47th vice president from 1999, from 2009 to 2017, and as a United States senator from Delaware from 1973 to 2009. Which I guess he was Barack Obama's vice president, if you guys remember the past, and House of Cards, and how all the candidates are sort of selected and predetermined, and American conspiracy theories. But I also want to mention before we get into his chart that he's born on November 20th, And the number 20 in the tarot deck has a lot of associations with the sign of um well, actually, 20 is the judgment card. And then 21 is the world card. So that has a lot of connections with the planet of Pluto, which is Scorpio's rising planet. Um, so let's get into this. So his first house is in Sagittarius. He's very competitive, probably very competitive with his father. His father's probably very athletic. He was perhaps athletic at one point in time in his life. And super competitive. Became vice president, became president by whatever dubious or whatever means he did to get there. As the president of the United States, one of the most powerful countries in the world. Um, so he looks like a horse. No, but like I said, very competitive with his father. Probably looks at life as a competition. I would say he won, I guess. It'd probably been better to be Doogie Howser and to be president at a younger age, like how Barack Obama was, but um, beggars can't be choosers. Uh, Old age happens, right? He has a second house in Capricorn, so that says that his biggest priority should be business and standing on business, and capitalism, honestly. So, I mean, being the president of the United States, he probably is like a gatekeeper of capitalism. Mr. Robinette Biden Jr. also has a third house in Aquarius, which says that he likes to talk to his friends a lot. I guess, he's sort of old, but maybe throughout his life he's been really good with technology. The third house, in combination with the fourth house, talks about his environment growing up and what that was like, or what it might have been like in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I should just say everything wrong, right? Now that I've said that Gordon Ramsay is from the United States, I'm like, he's from Scranton, New Jersey. His name is Jojo. Oh, what's I calling him? Joe Budden, the rapper. He's a rapper. So he once Donald Trump took office, he changed his name to Joe Buttons, and now he's a rapper and he's on SoundCloud. You can find his page, Little Jojo. And he will be winning Grammys. All right. No. So I mean, so the third house, so wherever he lived, might have felt cursed or made him very itchy because that Jordan Ramsey. I need to do some tongue twisters. That Gordon Ramsay video, I was itchy the entire time, and I do sort of associate Aquarius with itchiness. Um, where I mean, then also I've been associating the sign of Scorpio in the eighth house with like allergies, and skin irritation. Hopefully not bugs. But myself am sort of like really sensitive to mosquito bites. Like if I get a mosquito bite on my arm, like it kind of like makes my whole body itch. So maybe I got a mosquito bite or something that I don't know about. It's not really mosquito season. But to me, the first thing that I saw, like intuitively, as these are intuitive natal chart readings, um, I saw that wherever he lived it was like very philanthropic. So, could have been around a lot of charities. His mother might have been a part of charities. His father. Who is Joe Biden's father? Does he have a father? Was he born in a test tube? Is he an alien? And then also, not to make all of my mistakes Joe Biden's fault, but Aquarius is also so this is also the third house talks about like your manifestation style, your speaking, your love language, what you speak into existence, how you talk. And so I'm gonna blame all of my pre uh, dementia on Joe Biden, and that I'm doing Joe Biden's chart. He has a third house in Aquarius, and it's making me act like someone with dementia. saying that Gordon Ramsay is from the United States, and I keep calling him Joe Buttons. And then in his fourth house, he has Pisces. So I would say it was a very caring, loving childhood, great environment, very spiritual, probably went to church on Sundays. And if he didn't, probably wanted to or should have, or at least his mother. So the energy surrounding his father and father's side of the family is Sagittarius. The energy surrounding, his childhood environment and his mother's side of the family is Pisces. So even if his mom is not a Pisces, he probably wished she was. I wonder if I can look that up. But, and then it's like Joe Biden didn't have parents and he came here on a spaceship. I mean, when would they have been born? Catherine Eugenia Finnegan and Joseph R. Biden Sr. So let's see what Catherine going on with her. She was born July 7th, 1917 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So she is a Cancer, not a Pisces, but we are looking at the fourth house and moms. So she's like a super mom. And then she was unborn January 8th, 2010, which is pretty recently. I mean, sort of recently. And then his father, Joseph Robinette Biden Sr., this says that his birthday is November 13th, 1915, and he was born in Baltimore, Maryland. And Joe Biden's birthday is not November 13th, but Whoopi Goldberg's is. And I was talking about her at some point in some video, probably this one. I don't remember because Joe Biden has a third house in Aquarius and dementia. And then a lot of people were talking about like his mental faculty slipping, and I feel like throughout the Gordon Ramsay video and this one, mine have been too. So astrology's fake, and his father's not a Sagittarius, and his mother is not a Pisces. But like I mean, he has the same name as his father, so there probably is a competition there. Who's the better Scorpio? Who is the better person or whatever? And he was unborn September 2nd, 2002. So arguably recently, like 20 years ago. That makes me feel old. And that's his parents. But his mother is a water sign, so they probably did have a good relationship. And then his father's from Maryland, so they might be like Catholic or something like that. But very competitive with the father. Perhaps gets his spiritual beliefs from his mother. Could have spent time talking about astrology with his mom. Or like, so now I'm like, oh, Pisces is God, Pisces is astrology, Pisces is religion and all of those things, but uh, it is also like superstition. So maybe a lot of superstitions or prejudices that he has internalized probably stem from his mother's side of the family. And then his mom is from the same. Him and his mother have the same hometown, and the fourth house is the house of home, which rules the sign of Cancer. Okay, and then his fifth house is in Aries. So the fifth house in Aries, I think, is like a very like typical energy to experience from a person, where it's like anger, like maybe he finds anger to be arousing. It's a distraction for him. Maybe he gets a little too angry. And I think like arguably, so like if you don't know about rising signs, you see that someone's a Scorpio, and they spend all their time like being angry and having plots of revenge, and it kind of gets in the way of his career. That's pretty expected of a Scorpio. And then perhaps maybe that's why it took him so long to become president, because maybe he was on some revenge stuff or just was very angry about things. I mean, he was born in like, what does it say? Like 1745, 1742, 1942. So it could have also been like things with racism, bigotry. I mean, he was the vice president to Barack Obama, which racism, reverse racism, performative racism, a performance of race, and not only from Barack Obama, but from the United States to be like, hey, remember we used to like spray black people with water hoses and sick dogs on them? They're president now. We're not bad. We're not a racist country anymore. Could have been like an issue with him achieving things. But the way that he's supposed to overcome the pitfalls or caveats of his fifth house is with his house of work and service and healing, which he has in Taurus. And he also has his moon in Taurus too. So moon in Taurus to me is like very clearly like an emotional eater. So when he's happy, he's like, let's go out to the Sizzler. When he's sad, he's like, let's go out to the Sizzler. When he's angry, embarrassed, ashamed, any emotion that you can pick off of an emotional chart, he's like, hey, let's go to the Sizzler. Or, eats a chocolate cake or whatever it may be. Probably rewards himself with food very often. And then, so I guess, like, if he's angry, let's say, like, a bill that he was in support of doesn't pass, or a bill that he was in support of does pass, he's like, let's go eat. And that's his success. That's how he heals himself. That's how he rewards himself. And that's how he gets over perhaps even the loss of his mother and father. And in his seventh house, very naturally, he has the sign of Gemini because that is Sagittarius' opposite sign. He also has Uranus in Gemini. And he also has Saturn in Gemini. Claps from the cat for confirmation. So Saturn in Gemini says to me that one of his limitations is public speaking. And I don't remember him giving any 4 scores or 7 years ago. I don't remember him giving any speeches that were as powerful as, ask not what you can do for your country. He was basically like, hey, I have a black friend. And then he ran for president and was like, hey, I have a woman friend. So I don't know. Yeah, not the most like articulate speaker, fading mental faculties. Perhaps public speaking was a huge hindrance and limitation to his presidency happening earlier in life. There is a thing too, like I don't know Joseph Robinette Biden Sr.'s life. I mean, I could look it up. I have it pulled up on window right here. But there are things in people's lives, maybe predominantly with Sagittarius, where they don't like to overshadow, or what's the word? Outdo, overshadow, show up their father. So maybe, it wasn't racism. Maybe he was like, I gotta wait until my mother and my father pass so they won't be jealous of me being president or something like that. Well, this website says that, okay, yeah, in 2010. So at least his mother got to see him be vice president for a year, which I think is beautiful. Uranus is a planet of like boundaries. Well, it's like the what do you call it? It's not that at all. It is actually the sign of like breaking down boundaries and breaking through limitations. Uh, so which says to me that some Gemini kind of like helped him out in life, broke down a lot of boundaries for him. And the reason why I sounded so distracted saying that is because I wanted to look up what JFK's zodiac sign was, and it is Gemini. So I don't know for certain. It isn't. I mean, I guess I could sit here and we could all do research and do a book report on Joseph Biden's parents, but I'm assuming, which what happens when you assume, but we're just going to make some assumptions here, that his father might have been Catholic, might have grown up like there's a whole like I mean he could not be Catholic at all. But Maryland, he's from Baltimore, is like a Catholic state or Catholic colony at one point. So as a East Coaster from Virginia myself, I'm like, oh, everyone from Maryland is Catholic, which may or may not be true. And then JFK did sort of make it okay or cool to be Catholic and president or run for office. So maybe he attributes that to him. Who knows? Um, so perhaps when he was running for office, those types of things didn't matter because there'd already been like a Catholic person in office. And that's also the thing too, like with this fifth house in Aries, it's like where does he get the opportunity to cause change, hope and change, for the future or for marginalized people? And he did that, you know what I mean? Like he was the vice president while there was the first supposed African American president. And then while in his presidency, he had the first female vice president, um, which I'm sure nobody knew. And I'm such a nerd, and I'm so much smarter than you because I knew that. I'm just kidding. Everybody knows that. And then that's the seventh house. So also it says that a Gemini would be the best partner for him. And Jill Biden's a Gemini. Look, astrology's real. Right back at you. Jill Tracy Biden, an American educator who served as the First Lady of the United States from 2021 to 2025, the wife of Joe Biden, born June 3rd. And they have a child, Ashley Biden. Oh, I think she has like a previous husband too. Scandalous. Okay. So if it's not JFK that created boundlessness or removed boundaries in his life, it might have been Jill. And I think Jill Biden was also a professor at maybe GW, but I know that she also took like taught classes at like Northern Virginia Community College, which I am an alumni of. So I'm great. And so that's his seventh house. He was supposed to marry a Gemini. He did. His eighth house, he has Cancer. So the eighth house is the house of itchiness and skin irritation, but is the house of sex, death, and taxes, wants, wishes, and desires. He has Jupiter in Cancer as well. And that is it. Just double checking everything. Double checking everything in the chart, but still said that Gordon Ramsay was born in the United States. Um, so his Jupiter in Cancer, meaning that his mother brought him a lot of good luck, because we now know that his mother is a Cancer. I should have done this for everybody. But see, that's my thing. It's like, I want to create graphics. I want to add new information. I'm going to make several hundred videos. And then I just don't want to keep on adding segments and series. But there is this, like, I don't know if you call it like a stereotype or like a trick of the trade or it's like something that is said. It is said that when the sun is in uh, a similar element to your Jupiter sign, it is a good time of the year for you. So you out there in YouTube land, if you have a Jupiter in Cancer, if you have a Jupiter in Pisces, if you have a Jupiter in Scorpio, or perhaps if you are a Sun Scorpio listening to this, when Jupiter is in Cancer, um, it's a good time for you. But then also when the Sun is in those signs. So like in the fall time, in the springtime with Pisces, and in the summertime with Cancer, those are like lucky, fortunate times for him. Um, some people with a Eurocentric view of the world would say that the United States is a Cancerian country, and that I guess if he were to have moved to France or Zimbabwe, he would not have been able to be the president of the United States, which is very lucky for him that he's from Scranton and lives here and became president. And JFK, and I'm great. Some affirmations in the middle of this. So that is his eighth house. And then, like I said, his connection to occultism, to superstitions, to astrology, to magic, I say because of his fourth house in Pisces, is related to his mother. And we now know that his mother was a Cancer. So that might be right. His mother, I mean, even if it's not necessarily astrology, even if it's just like his mother being like, oh, you're a Scorpio, you're paranoid. And he's like, oh, my mom used to say, I'm a Scorpio, I'm paranoid. Not like she was giving him a full natal chart reading, but hey, he became president. Stonecutters and secret societies in Washington, D.C. Maybe she would like knew this chart and was like, okay, this is the one that becomes president at some point. Whether if it's through, the Akashic records or ancestral knowledge or just being like, that's what we want for our son. And then he has a ninth house in Leo. So if Joe Biden were to mysteriously disappear, his best bet for a long distance or long term relationship would be with a Leo. And because I know everybody's sign and I don't have to Google it in the middle of these videos as I've actually been doing, I know that Barack Obama, I believe, birthday is August 4th. So that is an example of a Leo that brought him a lot of good luck. He also has Pluto in Leo. Pluto being Scorpio's being Scorpio's rising planet. Scorpio's ruling planet is Pluto, which does talk about death. It does talk about it talks about death. It talks about rebirth. It talks about reconciliation. And I feel like the Barack Obama presidency might have been, America's apology era to African Americans, even though he is like sort of a Tom Holland, and maybe that's just what people need because of their own superstitions and bigotry, where he is an African American that has exoticism because he's like Kenyan and he's from Hawaii. I don't feel like anybody from Hawaii, unless you're like a native Hawaiian, should be allowed to be president because it's like you're just too cool. Like, what is a guy from Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Like, everybody from Hawaii is Matthew McConaughey, and it's not fair. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you can't have the Hawaiian Punch guy run for president. Like, everybody's gonna vote for Hawaiian Punch. So that's how I kind of feel about Barack Obama. He's like the Idris Elba or Tom Holland of presidents. I believe he also has Chiron in Leo. Yes, there we go. Look at this, being able to read things. And his North Node is in Leo too. So the North Node, it's sort of, I mean, I guess that having your North Node in Leo is good because it's, for me, it's like acting against your internal nature, or it's like a face or mask that you have to put on. So it's like, as a private paranoid Scorpio, he's like, I gotta go out there and pretend like I like being around people, like a Leo. I gotta act more like Barack Obama. And then maybe he was able to give Barack Obama a lot of good advice in spheres and in ways that he has not been able to advise himself. As Barack Obama was like a really popular president, maybe he. I mean, the presidency is a popularity contest, but I don't think anybody is getting like a chest tattoo of Joe Biden, and maybe he wouldn't be like the best candidate for the new Mount Rushmore. As I was saying, like he's not that great of a speaker, like JFK. Like there was no 7 years ago. There was no ask not what you can do for your country speeches that I'm aware of. But I'm also not necessarily the biggest politico. And then I also Googled Abraham Lincoln's sign, and he's an Aquarius, and maybe that will come up in the 11th house. We don't know. So I also have Chiron in Leo. And for me, I always say this is like a marketer. So he probably actually did push a lot of people into popularity, into fame. He surely did that for his wife. He surely did that. I mean, that was sort of the thing with like Barack Obama. It's like if you're racist and you hate black people and you have irrational race hate, look, there's an old white guy to make you feel comfortable, and he was the old white guy to make everyone feel comfortable. He has a 10th house in Virgo, so he most likely has always had a reputation and a legacy of being like very conservative. As I was approaching this reading, I started to see Virgo being the sign of like being conservative. As most people see Virgo as a sign of like being OCD and neat freaks. I'm like, I've never experienced that from a Virgo. But I have seen them be like uncharacteristically conservative. So as he might be a Democrat, he might be a like labeled liberal. I think that in his soul, in his core, he has a lot of like conservative values. And which probably stem just from him being, like I said, like we're like I've been calling it a Chinese sign every video, so we're not being PC anymore. He's an old white guy. Being conservative and conservative values probably benefit him the most. I was like, I can't call Zayn Malik the F word and then be like, oh, let's not offend the Chinese, you know. And then so he has an 11th house in Libra, which says to me that Libra Libra is a sign of aesthetics. In this natal chart reading series, we have been seeing like Libra and Taurus, Venus ruled signs, being the sign of like weight and weight gain. So maybe he has a lot of chubby friends. Maybe his friends struggle with weight. And I don't know Dennis Reynolds or the guy that plays Dennis Reynolds from Always Sunny in Philadelphia's zodiac sign, but he has this sort. And then even Dale Gribble from King of the Hill is like very skinny and like values being skinny, doesn't like to eat so much, likes to smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. And then I saw in the Gordon Ramsay chart that like I was like, you may not actually like food, like you might actually like hate food. And if he was like, I hate food and I'm only eating mashed potatoes for the rest of my life, I was like, I don't blame you. You have like 7 TV shows about food, and like at least 4 of them are about eating uh quickly cooked bad food. And like on MasterChef and stuff, like if something's undercooked or like not cooked all the way through, like all that raw salmon over years like could have taken a toll on him. But he's in love with his friends. He's a really good friend. He finds partnership in his friends. Him and Jill probably like hold hands and go skipping around a lot in DC. I've never seen it happen, but it might be something that they're doing. But Libra is also like the Justice Tarot card, so just talk about the legal system and the government. Even though, especially with Donald Trump being in office currently, who is also a Gemini, um, I kind of see the government more as like Aries, which is Libra's opposite sign. So some of this, some of that. Um, so he might have gotten his friends involved in politics that didn't want to be. And then I know like Kamala Harris has like some type of reputation of getting people sent to jail for whatever reason. And I'm not gonna Google it, but I think Kamala Harris is a Libra. So she's fat, and well, she's not fat, but like I was sort of turned off by the fact that like even Drew Barrymore was like, "Oh, we need Mama Kamala," and it's like, can you stop like I get it. Like women love women and being a woman is great. But going against Donald Trump, who's like such a like uh a pillar, an axle, a fulcrum of like white supremacy, white supremacy, what do you call it? Misogyny and all that type of stuff. It's like we kind of needed a woman that was like had like some brass balls, you know what I mean? And she's like running to be the president of the free world, not our chef, and then she kind of played into it too. Like she was always like talking about cooking and making food, and I was like, they all must all be best friends. And like I'm pretty sure Kamala Harris voted for Donald Trump. Like why is she cooking collard greens? And then I don't know. I'm not an anthropologist. I didn't measure her skull. But I was like, I don't even think Kamala Harris is black. I think she's like Indian or something. She's like dark skinned or whatever. I don't know. So I'm not a big Joe Biden fan, which is like I couldn't say or no one could say, and it's like it's sort of how I felt like they were like, Donald Trump is like the 8 ball or whatever when you're playing pool or billiards, like the black one. It's like, that's the 8 ball, right? I think. um, eight ball corner pocket. They're like kind of like eight ball corner pocketing Donald Trump into the presidency the same way that he was as Barack Obama's vice president. And I never have respected, the office of presidency, but I think that any type of like notion that it wasn't a big like that every election is a big sham and a fraud was with John McCain and that Alaskan woman Sarah Palin, because it was like, oh, okay, we have a melanated African American who's from Hawaii. Well, we're gonna have a white woman who's from Alaska, and I'm just like, oh my God, come on! Like, if Sarah Palin had been from Oklahoma or from literally anywhere else, I'd be like, okay, like, sure, whatever. But it was such a like, it's like, I just felt like they were like, I just feel like since, I mean, I'm sure the presidency has always been this way, but just me becoming aware of things, like, I didn't really feel like, I mean, George Bush, Gemini, uh, his father was president, so maybe, they put Al Gore up there because they know that he's a goofy idiot. Um, and what was the other guy? I don't know. So, I just feel like there's a lot of eight ball corner pocket things with the presidency, and we all kind of learned about that, and they talked about it in House of Cards. And then eight is all, if I'm right about pool, which I'm probably not because I don't know that much about it, and I don't know why it's coming up. Uh, is also the ruling number or is a number associated with Scorpio. And then also, for whatever reason, just because I believe in synchronicity, and a lot of the times when I analyze astrology, like if you look at a natal chart, it sort of looks like a crazy conspiracy theorist's room, right? Like the Charlie Day meme from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I haven't talked about Always Sunny in Philadelphia in any of these videos until I started talking about Joe Biden. Maybe he watches Always Sunny because it's Philadelphia's in Pennsylvania, right? And there's another thing where like Charlie Day is like confused and he's like, "Oh, how is Pittsburgh and Philadelphia both in Pennsylvania?" And I feel that way too. I'm like, "Oh yeah, like Pittsburgh is like its own state or something." So I understand him a lot, maybe too much. But yeah, so I don't even know if I got on topic or if I'm lost on topic or whatever. I don't remember what we were talking about. All I'm thinking about is Charlie Day. And maybe that's him too. Maybe he's like, I don't even know what's going on in life anymore. I just want to watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia because it reminds me of home. Um, and then he has a 12th house in Scorpio. So this actually seems like a very sad chart to have because it's like he himself makes himself miserable or people that are like him. So maybe he does not like being around politicians. And Scorpio, like the only other politician I know to be a Scorpio is like the Emperor Meiji from Japan in the Meiji era. So maybe he didn't want to be a politician. Maybe he doesn't like politicians. Um, the Emperor Meiji shares the same birthday with Puff Daddy, Sean Puffy Combs. So maybe he wanted to be more of an emperor. Maybe he wanted to be a rapper. You know what I mean? He's like, Scorpios be rapping, and they get like gold chains, and they're sort of like pharaohs, and um, maybe that's what he wanted to do, or maybe like reflecting on his life, he's like, I should have been a rapper. I would have had a gold chain if I was a rapper. But he also has a lot of energy going on in his 12th house, maybe to protect him to make him not feel so miserable. Because his sun is in Scorpio, him at his soul, he is a Scorpio. He has a Mercury in Scorpio, so he sounds like a Scorpio. Probably talks about revenge. I'm sure, like if there was some type of war that broke out while he was president, he would probably have given a better speech. And I also think with the Mercury in Scorpio, he would have like handled Donald Trump better in debates if they had ever debated, if they weren't just like, French kissing and cupping each other's balls the entire time. And He has a Venus in Scorpio, so the Scorpios make him miserable, and that's what I was saying. I think I was saying about Dennis Reynolds, and he has, Dennis Reynolds, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They have a podcast. They always say in the podcast that they're nothing like their characters, but Dennis is very similar to his character, popping off his shirt, being in love with his body, six pack abs, which I said in the Ryan Reynolds video. I do, even though I call Scorpios pigs all the time, I do associate them with like having six pack abs and sectioned bodies like insects. But he says that he's nothing like his character, but I think he has like a toxic obsession with like poop and body weight and things like that. And Pluto is associated with the Death Tarot card, so people see the Death Tarot card, they're like, oh, death and dying, but it's also like anorexia. So as I'm like, Taurus is the sign of like overeating or emotional eating. Scorpio sort of the sign of like eczema and skin irritation and itching, paranoid schizophrenia, and anorexia, like death and disease, I guess, like mental illness as well. Um, and so I said all of that just to show how cool I am, and I know Always Sunny in Philadelphia and their names. We'll get back on track at some point, I guess, or whatever point I was trying to make. Because Venus in Scorpio, so maybe like I said, like he's got the moon in Taurus, so maybe like anorexic, toxic diet culture makes him miserable. And he's also in love with it. He has Venus and Mars in Scorpio, so he's attracted to Scorpio. He acts like a Scorpio. Maybe people being in fear of his retaliation gave him a lot of power. Mars is Scorpio's old school ruling planet, so he's like a pretty aggressive guy. That positioning does really emphasize like a want or a future in working in politics or with the military, being organized and things like that, organized government. And so he's like a super Scorpio because he's like 4 placements in Scorpios. He's like borderline Scorpio stellium. I don't know, maybe he used to smoke cools with Barack Obama, but that's his 12th house. He's a horse. The only thing I really know about the horse in lunar or Chinese astrology is that the snake beat the horse. And then it reminds me of the Katy Perry song, also a Scorpio, Dark Horse, because like the dark horse in the race is like the horse that you think isn't going to win, right? If I'm using that colloquialism correctly. But the horse doesn't win. Like the snake beats the horse like in the last second, like wiggles through his hooves. So he has to be like weary of snakes. Snake in the grass, snake in my boot. Toy Story. So that's Joe Biden. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and sharing this with your best friend who is a Scorpio rising Sagittarius, so you can be like, hey, even though you don't talk so good and you have dementia, you might still be president one day if you get enough black friends, Get enough black, And then I was saying that, I think in the Katy Perry video, that Scorpios do have this like kind of like toxic love or affinity for people of color and marginalized groups, where to the point that it becomes problematic, where it's not fun anymore. Like there's this Mad TV sketch with Jordan Michael Peele and some really funny, great woman whose name I cannot remember from Mad TV as well, and they have like a public access show talking about like interracial dating and being an interracial couple. And she's basically like without shoe polish, sort of like in blackface. Not really, like I guess like she's like dressed like as if she were a black woman, whatever that may be. You watch the sketch. Mad TV is awful, and so am I, and it's my favorite show, or was my favorite show. So, if you want to send a very long-winded dig to somebody who is a Scorpio rising Sagittarius, share this video with them. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.